I think it's important to be a good listener because people need to be heard, and that's a really healing thing for someone, is to be heard.
Communication is central to the human experience, and it's essentially the way we show up to conversations with others, and it has a big impact on how the person we're in communication with receives that we're listening and hearing them.
Verbal traits of good listening might look like asking open-ended questions or clarifying questions about the information heard, using a friendly and warm tone, paraphrasing information and reflecting feelings.
Another part of this is just checking our assumptions. Sometimes when we're not listening well, we might be assuming we know what the other person's going to say before they finish their sentence, or we might be thinking about how we should respond to get our point across. And that's really not listening. It's not being present to what the other person's saying.
Open-ended questions are useful as they're the type of question that encourages someone to elaborate or share more, rather than a closed question, which typically can be answered with a yes or a no. When we talk verbal traits, I think tone is also so critical to be reflected of. Your tone can communicate a lot beyond the words that you're saying.
Listening with your whole body. And when we're listening with our whole body, we're not engaged in thinking about how we're going to respond or what we assume they're going to say.
I think some nonverbal traits of good listening is eye contact, kind of staying quiet. Maybe you can nod your head if you get something. I think to encourage myself to focus on what someone is saying to me is I kind of just push everything else aside that might be going on for me, right? If I'm anxious about something or thinking about something else, I kind of just ground myself in the moment and focus on, okay, this is important, what this person is telling me, and to just kind of be present in the moment.
And I think there's a difference there between hearing and actually listening. And so simply becoming aware of that can help us to be a bit more attentive and aware of where our mind or our heart is ultimately. If we find that we're struggling to actually listen to a person, it might be helpful just to acknowledge that and bring that up in the first case. But we might also be noticing that we're fidgeting. Our body language might not be present with the person. We might notice that we're just being distracted by technology, by thinking about the next thing that's coming up on our calendar. So if you're finding that you're missing key points or that you kind of zoned out for a period of time and you can't actually remember what the point is of the conversation, obviously these are signs that you're struggling to be actively listening. So in those cases, as I said, it's helpful just to address that either with oneself, and if you feel comfortable with the person you're talking to, hey, I'm sorry, I was just a bit distracted there. Can you repeat whatever it was that you were saying?
Empathy can be described as putting yourself in someone else's shoes, so experiencing someone else's world as if it's your own, understanding their position, and being able to identify and understand their emotions.
Yeah, a way I can offer somebody empathy is to be present, to be open to what they're saying to me, and to be aware of myself, what's happening for me, so that I know how I might be coming across to them as I'm listening to.
And I think some skills to help develop empathetic listening just have to do with focusing in, being attentive to the person that we're listening to, maybe asking questions if we hope that they can expand a bit more, encouraging them to share or to continue speaking through mirroring or clarifying or asking open-ended questions, offering reflective listening. And that can involve both paraphrasing the content of their words and also reflecting their emotional experience and presence in the moment.
The biggest component here, in my opinion, is to be attentive. Limit distractions as much as possible and commit time and space to the person talking. So this might mean taking your headphones out, turning the TV off, putting down a task you were working on, and mentally committing to focusing on listening. Using your hearing sense to ground you in the moment can also be really useful. So really just focusing on the words you're hearing rather than allowing yourself to get caught in your own thoughts or to travel into forming a response This might take practice. It's important to recognize that empathic listening does not use judgment and rather stands with the person in their experience, acknowledging them and being attentive to their thoughts and feelings.
Redbird Therapy.